The cool water slid over my skin like silk as I powered through my morning laps. 58, 59, 60. I touched the wall, ready to flip for another set, when a piercing voice shattered the quiet. I popped up, blinking chlorine from my eyes, and saw a middle-aged woman with a sharp blonde bob frantically waving both arms from the other side of my wrought iron fence. Excuse me, she bellowed. The community pool doesn't open until 10 a.m. You need to get out right now. I treaded water, bewildered. Ma'am, this isn't the community pool, I called back. This is my backyard, my private pool. Her face twisted like thunder. Don't be absurd. Every single water feature in Sunnyside Estates is under HOA control. I'm Karen Winters, president of the Homeowners Association, and you are in direct violation of pool hour bylaws. I opened my mouth to explain again, but she was already jabbing at her phone. I'm calling the police. This is trespassing. 20 minutes later, 2 officers strolled through my side gate, with Karen practically skipping behind them, clutching her phone like a trophy. That's him, officers, she announced, pointing at me as I stood dripping on my own deck, towel around my waist. He refuses to leave the community pool during closed hours. The older cop took one slow look around the manicured hedges I'd planted myself, the travertine coping I'd chosen, the seamless flow from my back patio straight to the pool's edge. Ma'am, he said mildly. Whose yard are we in right now? Sunnyside Estates community property, Karen snapped, arms folded tight. I walked to the teak side table, pulled a blue folder from the drawer, and handed over the deed. Actually, officers, this corner lot, including the pool, is 100% private. It was never part of the HOA amenities. The younger officer flipped through the pages while Karen's expression slid from righteous certainty to stunned silence. After a decade of 80-hour weeks at the engineering firm, I had finally bought my dream, a luxury townhouse on the biggest lot in Sunnyside Estates, the original model home, the only one the developer had kept separate, with its own private pool. I knew it was rare. I didn't know it would paint a target on my back. Karen Winters had ruled the HOA for 3 straight terms like a petty tyrant. People spoke in hushed tones about her clipboard patrols. The fines for basketball hoops left out 5 minutes too long. The citation issued because someone's front door wreath was excessively festive. One neighbor got a letter because his kid's sidewalk chalk hadn't been hosed off by 7 sharp. Another, because his mailbox was desert sand instead of the mandatory Sahara beige. I'd stayed invisible until I started swimming every morning. The fence was 8 feet tall, but from certain angles on the sidewalk, you could glimpse turquoise water. That was enough for Karen to decide it belonged to everyone. After that first police visit, she made my pool her personal obsession. I'd be floating peacefully and glance up to find her at the gate, scribbling furiously. Those pool noodles are not regulation color, she'd shout. Or, you have 3 guests. Maximum allowed is 2. Every single time I reminded her, calmly, that this was private property, and the HOA had 0 authority here. Every single time she waved me off. All pools in Sunnyside Estates are under my jurisdiction. It's about safety and maintaining standards. Once at 30, I caught her on the public sidewalk, phone raised, snapping photos of my backyard over the fence. When I walked out to ask what she was doing, she didn't even lower the camera. Documenting violations for the next board meeting, she said, as if that explained everything. I held out the deed folder again, but Karen barely glanced at it. She gave a dismissive little sniff. That document is obviously mistaken. The developer would never permit a private pool inside Sunnyside Estates gates. Things reached a whole new level the day threw a small birthday party for my brother. Nothing crazy, just 8 adults, a sheet cake, burgers on the grill, and music turned low enough that you could still hold a conversation. Everyone was laughing, kids splashing under the waterfall feature, when my side gate suddenly flew open with a metallic bang. There stood Karen in full regalia, a bright yellow polo with Sunnyside Estates HOA enforcement embroidered in navy across the chest, something she'd clearly ordered from some custom print site. This is an unauthorized assembly, she shrieked, loud enough to make my sister-in-law juggle her paper plate and almost catapult the birthday cake into the deep end. Community pools have a strict 6-person maximum after 5 p.m. Karen continued, marching forward like she owned the deck. My brother stepped between her and the guests. "Ma'am, this is my brother's private backyard. You need to leave now." Her face went from pink to beet red. "I will not be addressed that way by pool trespassers." She yanked out her phone again. "I'm calling 911. This is a squatter party and a safety hazard." Ignoring all of us telling her to get out, she plopped herself down on one of my teak loungers and started dramatically narrating into the phone. "Yes. Hello. We have a hostile takeover of the Sunnyside community pool by intoxicated individuals refusing to vacate. Not one of us had touched alcohol yet. It was barely 6:30 and we were still on lemonade. 20 minutes late. Are the same two officers walked through the gate." Karen sprang up like a jack in the box. "Officers! Thank goodness. These people have ignored repeated warnings to vacate the community property." The younger cop raised an eyebrow at his partner, clearly remembering me. "Ma'am, didn't we already settle this? This is private property. There's obviously been a mistake," Karen insisted, chin high. "All water amenities fall under my direct oversight." I handed over the same blue folder. "Officers, once again, here's the deed and the recorded plot map. This corner lot was never transferred to the HOA. The pool is mine." The older officer studied the paperwork, then fixed Karen with a hard stare. "Ma'am, were you aware this is private property?" "It can't be," she sputtered, voice cracking for the first time. "The developer would never, actually," Mark piped up, stepping forward with a grin. "The developer is my uncle. This lot was the model home. He deliberately kept it separate with its own private amenities. It's marked on every plat map filed with the county, and in the original HOA docs, you could literally watch the color drain from Karen's face." The older officer's tone went cold. "Ma'am, you've now entered this man's property without permission twice, after being told it's private. You've also made a second false report. Turn around, please." "What? No, you can't. You're under arrest for criminal trespass and filing a false police report." As the cuffs clicked on, Karen started wailing about the collapse of civilized society. "This neighborhood will fall apart without me. You don't understand what I do for you people." The officers escorted her out while she continued her prophecy of impending anarchy. Most of us just stood there stunned, until one of my neighbors, someone I didn't even know was invited, muttered, "Good riddance." 3 weeks later, Karen had her day in court. The judge, visibly unimpressed with her non-stop interruptions and self-righteous tangents, found her guilty on both counts: 6 months probation, 40 hours of community service, a $2,000 fine, and a criminal no-contact order, keeping her 50 feet away from my house. That same week, the HOA board held an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to remove her as president for conduct detrimental to the association. Karen sat rigid through the entire thing, clutching her binders like life rafts. When the gavel fell, she finally cracked, bursting into messy tears. "You're all making a horrible mistake," she sobbed, gathering her forest of 3 ring binders and that infamous clipboard. "This community needs me." Then she stormed out, polo and all, never to enforce another imaginary pool rule again.